Shadowguard was part of the same bundle that contained the Kingsmaker and Witch's Wake, and it was all sold as a DLC for $5.99. Now, I've already reviewed Kingsmaker, and I'll leave a link down below to that review. This module was created by the same guy that did a bunch of the Lone Wolf Neverwinter Nights content, and it also had some of the BioWare team involved as well. It's a short mod in terms of time to complete, at or under 3 hours, depending on your reading speed and understanding of where you need to go. This module features around the Shadowguards themselves, an elite secretive task force, and it involves becoming a member of this elite group to some extent. It comes complete with its own music and introduced the ration-based system for resting, which was pretty neat in itself. Now, you start this adventure level at level 3 in any combination. In my particular playthrough, I chose a Dwarven Fighter and Cleric, aptly named Danny DeVito. But with all that being said, remember, if you like this style of content, to go ahead and give a thumbs up and subscribe. But let's go ahead and dig in. Shadowguard opens with an award ceremony and an introduction to the Imperial government at the Academy, complete with some choices to be made that will impact the playthrough. However, I feel that the dialogue options weren't the best, or rather the responses didn't set the stage for RP immersion of your character, with some responses variegated to the time when the mod was created back in the middle of the 2000s. This is a common problem seen throughout several games where content created through story dialogue is easily placed in a certain time period and track. Think of the words like groovy or gnarly as examples of dating oneself, and you get the picture. Otherwise, the opening is not that bad. After that, it does get bogged down a little with some weird quest interactions that aren't very well explained, and leaving the player having to explore a little to figure out how to continue to progress the story. Now, that's if there was a world to explore. The world is just the city itself, and there isn't a lot of interactions that can be done. No real hidden secrets to discover or interesting crafting recipes to stumble upon. Which isn't bad, since somewhere in this process it begins to take root and shape as an interesting story, complete with intrigue and honestly an interesting plotline to follow, complete with heinous characters introduced and a what is really going on around here moment. Also, actions taken early begin to play out, opening up the scenario to some very interesting sequences. However, just as it's beginning to get good, that's when it concludes, for whatever reason, be that this would have been a part 1 and there was never a sequel made. Shadowguard opens, finally invests the players, and stops short just when things begin to actually form into a decent campaign adventure. I really wish at this point that there was a community-made mod that would continue this to a part 2, but it doesn't seem to be any with me exploring the catalog of all this great community-made content. So we're left with just what Shadowguard has to offer, an adventure that has some hiccups, but a bit of flavor that can be enjoyed for a short burst of entertainment. Now, if you're the type that likes to see a completion to the story arc, I would definitely avoid this one, as it just doesn't feel finished. Now, although as a timepiece, it's kind of interesting to see that ration mechanic for resting, and also to explore some of those narrative decisions you can make inside. And if that interests you, then perhaps you'd take a look. But one thing that I'd really like to point out as far as playing the Shadowguard adventure module as itself, make sure to avoid using probably a fighter or a cleric that can heal, or a combination of the two, as my fighter cleric just seemed way too overpowered no matter what kind of setting I set up the adventure to be at. If it was me, I'd probably replay this as a rogue or a bard, even though it's open to any class. Well, that's my short mini review of Shadowguard. As always, remember, if you like this style of content, to hit that subscribe button for more future videos, but I'll see you on the next one. Later.